Hi, this is my review of Kroma Dragonics for the 13th Age role-playing game. This small supplement, consisting of only 10 pages, contains many things both in background and mechanical things, that is, elements that you can use to shape your campaigns and characters in the 13th Age that have to do with the Dragonics in a more substantial way. You're going to find more about their possible history in the world, because the 13th Age is an RPG that really wants you to make the game your own version of the 13th Age. So you're going to have a lot of material for that, but you will also find some interesting abilities, powers, and non-player characters that you can use in your campaigns and adventures. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. The quality is great. My only criticism, and this is more like a nitpick, is that it's not bookmarked. But this is only 10 pages long, so you will have no trouble at all navigating your way through this PDF. And the graphic design is great. The illustrations are awesome, very intense. I really like the illustrations from this artist, Rich Longmore. His work here is awesome. And everything is very well organized, written, and explained overall. So, Dragonics. Dragonics are basically the same thing in other that you would see in other role-playing games, such as Dragonborn, Humanoid Dragons, Draconics, Draconians, basically any sort of creature that looks like a half dragon, half human type of being. The Dragonics in the 13th Age are just that. And you have a nice introduction as to how and why they integrated the Dragonics into the history of the 13th Age. Because this type of race, of fantasy race, is somewhat polarizing. I've heard people saying, oh, I love Dragonborns or Dragonics, and some other people are going to say that they hate this type of race and they feel like it's a bit too over the top or nonsensical. So I've never heard someone that is somewhat ambivalent or that doesn't care about them. At least in my personal experience, I always find that players that either love them or that they hate them. So here you have Kroma Stories. This supplement focuses specifically on Dragonics that are on the chromatic dragon side of things. No, you won't find information for the metallic Dragonics here. These are all about the red dragon, black dragon, green dragon, etc. So here you have information on the types of names that they receive, at least how other races refer to them as. So, for example, it could be considered a bit of an insult to call them worm spawn. Dragonics themselves prefer to be known as either Dragonics or Kroma. Kroma is a bit more elegant to them. So you can see that there is a bit of difference as well within the Dragonics or the Kroma, consisting on differences based on scales, because those that are on the red dragon side of things are called red scales, and there are others such as blue scales, black scales, green scales, etc. So here you have a lot of information to see how Dragonics could be possibly united or divided based on their ancestry, because there are many stories here, possible ways that could explain why Dragonics exist in your game world. Maybe they are the descendants or experiments even of different powerful dragons of the past. So there could be some cultural differences based on the color of their scales, that is sort of like their bloodlines. You have information on how they are related perhaps to Drakenhall. And you have 13 things that might be true about Kroma Dragonics. Their views on material possessions. Maybe they value very strong things, very powerful weapons and armor. Maybe they value very fragile things. who are they loyal to, or what is their view, or the way they handle ethics and morality. All of that and more is here. And then you have the origin myths. This is all about how the different colors of the chroma were produced in the 13th age mythology. Because, for example, maybe white dragonics or white scales are actually made out of ice, and they are the byproduct of a conflict between a goddess and the white dragon that is the archetypical white dragon of the 13th age. Or maybe the green dragons, what is their relation or their direct involvement with the green dragon, who many of you know in the 13th age is a bit of a mystery. They don't know if that dragon is dead or if it was captured. So each color has its own unique origin. You're going to get information as to how the black scales are also known as shadow dancers, and exactly who are the original progenitors of the different dragonics or chroma. You have many different places and names and non-player characters that you can use to weave the perfect tapestry for your chroma campaign. And then you have information on the icon influences. What if the Diabolist has some sort of involvement in the chroma creation? Or what if one of the icons is actually a chroma and not a human? You can play around with the different icons, see what works with your campaign. You also have information, for example, where could these chroma characters live? Do they have like an official place of residence? What if some of them reside at the back of the behemoths, as one of the behemoths? If you are not familiar with the 13th age, there are these huge creatures, like invincible titanic beasts that are known as the behemoths, and some races like to make their home on their backs for protection, and because they move around a lot, they also serve as like mobile homes. So here you have information on the type of struggle for dominance or survival that the chroma could experience if they decide to make their home on top of one of these beasts. And then we have information for character options. But before we get into that, it's also important to notice that all of what I have told you is just a very like a small fragment of the background related material. That is, you will find many things to make your one unique thing with each of your chroma characters, because that's the cool thing of the chroma, that you actually get to play as this half dragon, half human type of character in the world, with all of the related powers, cultural differences compared to other more standard fantasy races and such. So maybe the thing that makes you unique is that you're a frost range nomad, or maybe you are a seeker of the shadows, or maybe you are someone who is trying to replace the green dragon. Maybe your dream is to become a fully fledged dragon and replace the green that is missing. And these are just some things that I'm thinking of based on the background information. Here you have more specific, unique things that you can use when building a chroma character. So, getting into more technical details, you have more details on tier advancement when it comes to natural dragonic weapons or abilities. Because, for example, your breath weapon, here you have new feats that will allow you to empower the way that when you are using your breath attack, or perhaps you will be able to regain it almost immediately and not spend it, because many of you know that in 13th age you have these powers that you can only use at certain times or only once per day, and here you have new feats so that you get a chance to use them more times per day or deal more damage with them. But you also have the ability of limited flight. Now this could replace your breath weapon, or if you come into some sort of agreement with your game master, you could have the breath weapon and limited flight as well, to feel more like a dragon, flying around and breathing fire. So you have a limited way in which you can fly around during encounters. And then you have information on character classes, because maybe you want to create a dragonic barbarian. So here you have a very powerful rage that you can regain and trigger when you during certain battle situations. Or maybe you want to create a dragonic fighter. Oh, one more detail about the Kroma rage is that it's basically just that you want to rage more times, not spending your rage for that particular moment. And then you have, as I was telling you, the dragonic fighter. And this is really cool because you can attack with your whip, that is your tail whip. You can use your tail as an additional weapon. And you also have a new maneuver that you get at 7th level that is known as Gather Breath. So you regain a use of your dragonic breath weapon power. And so you can keep breathing fire more often. Or it depends on the type of dragon that you are. If you are blue scale, you're probably going to breathe out electricity. If you're green, you're going to spew out poison and such. And then you have the Dragonic Sorcerer with a new talent, the Rumble Mumble Rumble. Your Dragonic Breath weapon is tuned to your magic. When you roll high enough to reuse one of your breath weapon spells during a battle, you also regain a use of your Dragonic Breath weapon power if it's expended. So this way you can cast spells and attack with your breath weapon constantly, and you're going to feel like a bit like a really powerful offensive character. And then you have information on monster stats. These are basically creatures that you can use in your campaigns, fully statted and with a bit of background information. So you have, for example, the green scale wild stalker. Suddenly reptilian eyes open and the vegetation erupts as a green scale dragonic hidden among the foliage lunges for you. Or maybe you have the blue scale lightning color. Lightning crackles as lightning crackles as the blue scale dragonic unleashes a bolt at you. Then the lightning cycling around the sorcerer pulses and takes the shape of dragons. And you also have the white scale rhyme walker, the red scale fiery vanquisher, the black scale shadow dancer, and all of those, depending on the color of the scales, they have different powers related to fire, to frost, but they also have different abilities like special triggers, rages that they can go into, different weapons. That is, this dragonic is equipped with a hand crossbow and such. This one is using a heavy axe. And you also have nastier special features or abilities for all dragonic worm spawn, because maybe some of those enemies have the limited flight capability that I was telling you, or they also have blood of the worm. This dragonic displays traits of its forebears, the mighty worms. You roll a 10-sided die, and you consult the random dragon ability table on a certain page of the core rulebook, or choose one of the first 10 options that looks likely to shape the story or battle. So this adds a lot of flexibility to the type of encounters that you can have with Kroma. So what do I think of this little supplement? I think it's excellent. This is a must-have if you want the Dragonics or the Kroma to play a stronger role in your campaign. If not a central role, at least to make them feel a bit more significant. If you want to create player characters that are more attuned to a particular color, both in background and in rules, that is, maybe you want to create sort of like a red dragon type of Kroma, this is the supplement to get. But it's also quite useful for game masters, because maybe they want some powerful dragonic antagonists or allies or patrons on your campaign. This supplement contains all of the background information for that, but also, as I was telling you, rules related information, more special abilities and such. So I would definitely recommend getting the Kroma Dragonics supplement if you want to add a bit more background information and more options when building any dragonic type of character. Thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.